All right, good evening, everybody. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, welcome everybody to our August action meeting. I want to remind everybody that we will be webcasting the meeting live this evening. Mrs. Sugars, would you take roll, please?
Mr. Goodwin, Mrs. Judge,
Here.
Mrs. Matlack,
Here.
Mrs. Seidel,
Here.
Mrs. Scarpolino,
Here.
Mrs. Schultz, Mr. Tomlinson,
Here.
Dr. Wong,
Here.
Dr. Dickinson.
Here. First order of business is approval of the minutes. We'll be approving the regular action meeting dated June 27th, 2017. The board work session special action meeting dated June 13th, 2017. And the executive sessions dated June 13th and June 27th, 2017. Any errors, omissions, additions from anybody? No. Have a motion to approve. Mrs. Matlack, Mrs. Scarpolino. Mrs. Sugars.
Mrs. Judge,
Yes to all.
Mrs. Matlack,
Yes to all.
Mrs. Seidel,
Yes.
Mrs. Scarpolino,
Yes to all.
Mr. Tomlinson,
Yes to all.
Dr. Wong.
I need to abstain because I was not here. Thank you.
Dr. Dickinson.
Yes to all. Next, we'll move into correspondence. I believe Mrs. Judge has some correspondence for us.
You do, Dr. Dickinson. I just wanted to report to the board, excuse me, that Garden State Coalition of Schools has invited me to a meeting next Tuesday, August 29th, to visit Lou Greenwald. Both the executive director of Garden State, Betsy Ginsburg, and Jordan Schiff as president of the Garden State, and he's also the superintendent of Hillsborough, will be there next Tuesday. And then Jonathan Pushman from New Jersey School Boards has invited me to attend a meeting with Senator Jim Beach on Wednesday, September 6th. And Joyce Miller, who's the president of Gibbsborough's Board of Ed, has also been invited to this meeting. And this is like an annual thing because we're both on the legislative committee. So I just wanted to remind you, Dr. Malash, if there's anything you want me to bring forward at these meetings, the first one is a week from today. And I certainly will say thank you for the increased aid to Cherry Hill for the 17-18 school year. And my last report is the next Garden State Coalition of Schools meeting is Wednesday, September 27th. It feels like we haven't met forever. The Lieutenant Governor Kim Guadagno, the Republican candidate for New Jersey governor, is scheduled to be the guest speaker at this meeting. So if anybody wants to come with me, I'll be on the road around 1. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other correspondence? No? Seeing none, I will turn the floor over to Dr. Malash.
Thank you, Dr. Dickinson. I'm going to ask Mrs. Wilson to join me up by the podium. And it's my pleasure to introduce Bree Leftwich to everyone. And Bree, if you would come up to the podium where Mrs. Wilson is going to be. Let me just tell you a little bit about Bree, and then we're going to ask her just to say a couple of words about what it is that we are recognizing her for this evening. So Bree is a rising junior at Cherry Hill High School West, and while she is an incredibly accomplished dancer, she is also a nationally award-winning playwright. Bree entered and won a contest through Sacred Heart University, where her original play, Apartments, was done as a table reading, and they gave her notes, and she went out and spent a week, 2 weeks, 1 week, spent a week out at Sacred Heart. This is the first time that Sacred Heart University has run the contest, and Bree was one of 2 high school winners in this national competition. So I'm thrilled that she and her parents are here in the audience with us this evening as well, that they are here. So Bree, if you would just go over to the microphone and you want to tell the folks, the board members and the community a little bit about what you wrote, tell them a little about Apartments, what the experience was like for you.
My play Apartments is about a young woman who lives in New York City, and she is an assistant to a fashion magazine editor who's really not caring about anybody else except herself. So when the task to host the annual Christmas party for the office is put on her, she really just tries to make it the best that it can be. As for the process, it was just really interesting, like from the first day on, just having the first reading, and then going back to an office for like, I believe it was 6 hours a day, and just rewriting and scratching and printing and doing a bunch of stuff to this script. It was really, really amazing.
Can't get out of it that easy. All right. Next up, we have our board representative reports. Looks like we only have Wes this evening.
Okay,
Dual duty tonight.
Basically. So Lauren and Josh couldn't make it tonight, so I'll be doing both reports. Okay. Board of Education, I regret that neither I nor Lauren could attend the meeting and deliver this report this evening. However, out of duty and habit, I still have written a report for you about the events occurring at Cherry Hill East. We are now 2 weeks away from the start of school. The summer at East has been filled with workshops for both freshmen and seniors, ranging from the basics of high school to how to utilize the Common Application website. A number of programs on test preparation and college essay writing have also occurred. Having completed one of these sessions last summer and seen the advantage gained from it, I can say that the East community ought to value these opportunities highly. As the summer concludes and the season draws closer, fall sports practices have become more vibrant. Another harbinger of the school year, schedules were mailed out fairly recently. This year, the first day schedule has been revised to give students an opportunity to visit every single one of their 8 periods, with each period being about 40 minutes. In previous years, students would follow the regular block schedule, during which they would visit half of their classes on the first day and half on the second day. Thank you to the administration for taking the public suggestion of a day 0 and introducing it this school year. Additionally, schedule change forms are due outside of guidance by the 24th. I may have focused on it about a month ago, but the Cherry Hill East freshman orientation is still yet to occur. As a reminder, it is on the 31st. Additionally, if you have not yet attended a tour of the school, there is 1 day left, the 30th, on which to schedule that. I highly advise attending, as the layout of the school can seem very daunting on the first day when there are only about 4 minutes to get between classes. Once again, I apologize for my absence and look forward to reporting on a full and bustling school in 1 month. This is for me. Good evening, Dr. Malash, Dr. Dickinson, Mr. Goodwin, and board members. I am excited to announce that the 2017-2018 academic school year is just a few weeks away. Although classes have yet to proceed, West has continued to hustle with activities. All fall sports have officially begun their season. We have high hopes for all the teams this year, and we wish them the very best of luck on the coming months. West Guidance Department has hosted their second workshop this summer on how to utilize the Common Application. The workshop was aimed towards upperclassmen and their parents in order to get ahead of the game for the long process of college applications. On a more exciting note, West peer leaders are headed to Camp Akanikin this coming Sunday and returning Tuesday morning. So far, the itinerary includes boating, high ropes, courses, hiking, and so much more. It will surely make for a unique and exhilarating experience for both students and faculty. Freshman orientation will be held next Wednesday, August 30th. West has prepared special events such as a scavenger hunt and a barbecue to aid in easing any nerves and to make the class of 2022 to feel welcome into the West family. Parent freshman orientation will be held the same day, just at night at 7 p.m. And lastly, back to school night will convene on September 14th, kicking off the school year. Thank you.
Thank you, Carly. Good work. Double duty. Okay, next up is our first public discussion. Your comments must be regarding items on the action agenda for this evening. When you come to the mic, please state your name and address. You will have 3 minutes for your remarks. Please note the green light will turn yellow when you have 30 seconds remaining. The light will turn red when your 3 minutes are up. Any comment about the action agenda this evening? Okay. So we will move into the superintendent comments. Dr. Malash.
Thank you, Dr. Dickinson. Good evening, everyone. It's great to see you. Thank you all for being here tonight. To tell you, I'm incredibly excited because as we sit here and it's August 22nd, we are now less than 2 weeks away from the first day of school. Because 2 weeks from today is the first day of school, and at 7:15 on September the 5th, everybody will either be at practice or will be at home celebrating what the first day was for them in their schools. I'm incredibly excited. I am ready for the kids to be back in school. I know I've spoken with some of the parents and some folks in the community over the last week. I think some other folks are ready for kids to be back in school as well. It's been a really busy summer in Cherry Hill, as it always is. We had very successful summer programs that ran in a number of our schools, both in terms of extended school year. We had the Camp Thomas Paine program. We had the art and music programs that ran. We had the programs over at High School East, as well as the college essay, the prep classes for the standardized assessments that the kids are taking, as well as the Common App sessions that kids and parents also came to. So it's incredibly busy and bustling, but as busy as it is, it'll get a whole lot better in less than 2 weeks because the kids will be back in schools. So a reminder to families and to students, summer reading assignments. And the summer reading assignments, if you haven't started, there is still time to complete your summer reading. There are some phenomenal books that are being read at each of the levels. Remember, at the high school level as well, the kids have the opportunity for choice. There are assignments kids can choose from that go along with those. There's the expectation that come September 5th and 6th and 7th that those summer reading books will be discussed in school. So there is still time to do it. If you have questions, look on the website. If you're not sure, contact the school, contact the office, contact guidance, and they can help you out with those pieces. It was a thrill to see Bree this evening, and to see her parents here. It's an incredibly amazing award that this child earned and what she won, and something that she took upon herself to enter and to construct, and then to go out and really, as a rising high school junior, to take some pretty critical feedback about what she had written and what they wanted her to change and how they wanted her to change it, and to be able to produce upon demand for what that was. So we'll be looking for some very bright things from Bree and her classmates as she moves forward. Please make sure that you are checking our websites. The websites are continuously updated both at the district level as well as the building levels. The best place to find information about the school district is from the school district. So check on our district website or our school websites. If you have a question, if you're looking for something and you can't find it, use the quick question feature that is on our website. Mrs. Wilson goes through and we look at the questions and we put the responses and update that as quickly as we possibly can. But if you have questions about what's going on in schools or in the district, please let us know. I'm also really excited because this Saturday, August the 26th, I'll be doing the first of 12 Saturday meetings that I've scheduled throughout the course of the year. So one of our goals, that we work on in terms of communication with the community and providing outreach and input is to provide different ways and accessibility for the community to be able to provide us with their thoughts. So I've scheduled meetings from 9 to 10:30 at all 12 of the elementary schools, the first of which is this Saturday. There's one a month, except for there's 2 in October and 2 in March. We'll look to conclude in May. I left June open as possible snow dates, but the way things go, probably won't snow on a Saturday, so that's exciting. So if you're available this Saturday, 9 a.m., between 9 and 10:30 a.m., bring your favorite morning beverage with you, as long as it's appropriate for school. And we will be at Barton Elementary School. So Barton Elementary School between 9 and 10:30 this Saturday, August 26th, looking to meet community, folks from the community, parents, family members, folks that don't have children in the district as well. You do not have to have a child in the district to come. You also don't have to live in Windsor Park or any of the Barton sending areas to attend the one that's at Barton. The information is posted on our website. It's on our Facebook page. It's been out on Twitter and that kind of thing as well. So please make sure you try and come to at least one. Our bottle filling station has been installed here at Malberg, so I encourage the board members or the community members that come out. It's down the main hallway. Those of us that are here on a daily basis are certainly taking advantage of the bottle filling station that's there and filling appropriate things there. Right, Mr. Bart was very clear about the directions about how it is to be used. So using the bottle filling stations. So I encourage board members, bring your reusable bottles with you. We'll look to have some extra reusable bottles and that kind of stuff here as well. If you get a chance to, when you're here in the hallway, the folks have updated the bulletin board outside of the registration office. So one of the things that, as I went out and met with families last year and did the home visits, they talked about what it was like to come in to register and then to go out to the school, being able to put names and faces and make those connections. There's the bulletin board that was just put up, I believe they finished it today, that has pictures of each one of the principals and the names of their schools. I did not figure out a way to get my picture on that board yet, so I will continue to work on that. But I encourage you to stop down the hallway and to see. But it's a great piece that's out there. I'm very grateful to Mrs. Sugars and Mr. Carter and Mr. Bart, the buildings and grounds folks, and the custodial crews for what they've done within our buildings. It's an incredibly huge endeavor to appropriately clean and strip and wax and polish and get all these schools ready. I remember more than 1.7 million square feet of building space that has to be appropriately and thoroughly cleaned during the summer. The men and women that work in our buildings and grounds and work in our custodial staff and our building staff truly are champions within our district. They often are unsung heroes and nameless faces to many in the community. But if these folks didn't dedicate themselves and take pride in the work that they do, our schools would not be ready for our children. And I get the great opportunity to meet with all of them a couple of times during the course of the year and to remind them that without their great works, no learning is going to take place in our schools. I'm incredibly grateful for those folks and for what they do. So when you are out in the schools and you see one of our custodians, you see one of the maintenance guys or one of the ladies that's in the building, thank them. Thank them for what they do. And that's it for now.
Very good. Thank you, Dr. Malash. Good stuff. Lots of happening at the end of the summer. All right, so next up is our action agenda. So we'll start with C&I. Mrs. Seidel, would you move the C&I agenda, please?
I sure will. Thank you, Dr. Dickinson. The superintendent recommends and I move the following. Number 1, approval of professional development plans chart of fiscal responsibility for the 2017-2018 school year. Number 2, approval of attendance at conferences and workshops for the 2017-2018 school year. Number 3, approval of out-of-district student placements for 2017-2018 school year. Number 4, approval of services contract with New Jersey Commission for the Blind and Visually Impaired, 2017-2018. Number 5, resolution approving a professional services agreement. And you have a yellow sheet in front of you for an additional item, number 6, approval of 2017-2018 nursing standing orders. Do I have a second? Mrs. Judge. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, Mrs. Sugars.
Mrs. Judge?
Yes to all.
Mrs. Matlack?
Yes.
Mrs. Seidel?
Yes.
Mrs. Scarpolino?
Yes to all.
Mr. Tomlinson?
Abstaining from A3 with the placement at Bancroft. Yes to the remainder.
Dr. Wong?
Yes.
Dr. Dickinson?
Yes to all. Mr. Tomlinson, will you move the BNF agenda for us, please?
Happy to. The superintendent recommends and I move the following. Number 1, financial reports. Number 2, resolutions. Number 3, resolutions for the award of bids. Number 4, resolution for the award of transportation. And number 5, acceptance of donations. Do I have a second? Mrs. Seidel, any questions?
Mr. Tomlinson, may I highlight a few things
Yes, you may.
before you
Go ahead.
move on? Well, item number 3, the resolution of bids. The first item that we have on the agenda was for the resolution of the crawl space ventilation work. This is the second time we have put this out to bid, and it is the second time we have had no bidders on this project, which is very concerning. At this point, Mr. Middleton and Mr. Green and I have spoken about the potential of negotiating with contractors since we have put it out to bid twice and have not had any takers on the project. We're checking with the SDA, who is providing some funding for this project, to make sure they're okay with that process. And we are meeting on Thursday with Mr. Middleton and Mr. Sweeney to talk about what the next steps are. The feedback we got this time was that the contractors didn't want to do second shift work, which if they're contractors that traditionally work in schools, you would assume at some point they are doing second shift work. So that was discouraging. It's also not a project, as I've told you before, that we want to let linger. So I hopefully will have some more information at our next BNF meeting and a plan to move ahead with that project. Also, the other award of bids was for transportation services. We didn't do great, but we did get a few more. So we were pleased with that. At this point, Mr. Barrow is contacting bus companies directly. I know he had a meeting with McGuff Busing to sit down and go over routes and see if we can adjust times perhaps or change dates, and was going through that process to try to cover the additional routes. He was getting some positive feedback, so we're hoping that we won't have some of the issues that we had last year.
Anyone else? All right, Mr. Sugars.
Mr. Tomlinson?
I need to abstain from Bancroft NeuroHealth on the bill list, but yes to the remainder.
Mrs. Judge?
I need to abstain to the Cooper Health System on the bill list. Yes to the remainder.
Mrs. Matlack?
Yes to all.
Mrs. Seidel?
Abstain with respect to CDW on the bill list. Yes to the rest.
Mrs. Scarpolino?
Yes to all.
Dr. Wong?
Yes.
Dr. Dickinson?
Yes to all. Thank you for that update, Mrs. Sugars. Good news to some extent.
Glass is half full.
We got a plan at least. All right. Mrs. Judge, would you move the HR agenda, please?
I'd be happy to. So the superintendent recommends, and I move the following. Number 1, termination of employment certificated. Number 2, termination of employment non-certificated. Number 3, appointment certificated. Number 4, appointments non-certificated. Number 5, contract renewals non-certificated. Number 6, leaves of absence certificated. Number 7, leaves of absence non-certificated. Number 8, assignment salary change certificated. Number 9, assignment salary change non-certificated. Number 10, other compensation certificated. Number 11, other compensation non-certificated. Number 12, other motions. I do want to point out that we have a handout for numbers 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, 10, 11, and we have additional 13 other motions and 14 other motions. Do I have a second? Mrs. Scarpolino. Any questions? Seeing none, Mrs. Sugars.
Mrs. Judge?
Yes to all.
Mrs. Matlack?
Yes to all.
Mrs. Seidel?
Yes to all.
Mrs. Scarpolino?
Yes.
Mr. Tomlinson?
Yes to all.
Dr. Wong?
I need to abstain on item 3, appointments certificated, EFG, field service, counseling internship, and social worker internship at Rutgers. And yes to the rest.
Dr. Dickinson?
Yes to all. Mrs. Scarpolino, would you move the P&L agenda, please?
Certainly. The superintendent recommends, and I move the following. Number 1, second reading of policies. Number 2, first reading of policies. Do I have a second? Mrs. Judge, any questions? Seeing none, Mrs. Sugars.
Mrs. Scarpolino?
Yes.
Mrs. Judge?
Yes.
Mrs. Matlack?
Yes.
Mrs. Seidel?
Yes.
Mr. Tomlinson?
Yes to all.
Dr. Wong?
Yes.
Dr. Dickinson?
Yes to all. And lastly, but not least, strategic planning. We have no items. Your time's coming.
No items right now.
Right now. All right. We'll move into our second public discussion. You may now comment on any issue. When you come to the mic, please state your name and address. You will have 3 minutes for your remarks. Any public comment? No? Okay. Seeing none, motion to adjourn. Mrs. Judge, Mrs. Matlack. Good night, everybody. Thank you.